He started talking to his cat and said that he had been thinking about her a lot lately. He feels a connection between the cat and the unknown girl who comes at night. The cat always appears after this girl disappears somewhere. They both have the same eyes, as well as a medallion that they both wear around their necks. It means a lot. If he is right, then the cat itself can say its own name. He asked her to calm down and not to avoid, and after these words he came closer and kissed her tenderly. Kate is not in human form at all, but she is as nervous as if she were marrying him. Not a minute passed before she turned into a beautiful lady again. Oddly enough, Suleiman was not surprised at all. He realized that all this time it was the same girl. She finally told him her name and waited for him to take further action. Realizing that he was in no hurry to say anything, she felt so awkward that she suggested that they quickly return to the celebration. I had to remind the girl that she couldn't go anywhere dressed like that, and the prince even became embarrassed. At this moment, someone else noticed that this intimate conversation had been interrupted. It turned out that Aziz, who had not appeared in our story for a long time, unexpectedly approached them. Kate thanked him for all the support he had given her before. He had been right in everything he had said. Aziz immediately knelt down and greeted the daughter of the goddess Ashtar. He immediately felt that her energy became clearer. The girl asked him to stand up immediately and not bow to her. She still could not get used to her special role in this world. Aziz said that before people arrive, Kate's appearance needs to be changed immediately, otherwise problems could arise. She looked at him and couldn't understand. Today, Aziz was smiling somehow strangely, even a little sadly. A little later, Kate finally acquired a more studious appearance. Suleiman continued to look at her with some concern, although he had already received many answers to his questions. He explained the situation to Arin's sister. She should help them, and everything would be under control. After this, the prince began to think about the side effects of turning from an animal into a human. He approached the girl and said that if she felt any discomfort, she should tell him about it immediately. Today, he is especially gentle. She has never seen him in such a mood. If you think about it, she did have some strange feelings. But after receiving powers from Ashtar, everything returned to normal. Aziz promised Kate to teach her how to adapt to life in the palace. This guy is always ready to help. The party is not over, so the principal must leave the girl, but he promised to definitely return. Kate decided to take a little rest and speed up her time alone. After some time, Arin came to wake up her cat and was shocked by this transformation. Kate reassured her sister and told her that they could still be friends despite these changes. It was hard to believe that the cat had turned into a real beauty, but this would not change their friendship. Kate suggested taking a little walk in the flower garden. It was very beautiful and fresh there. Arin thinks it's a good idea, but there's one problem: Kate will stand out too much. Perhaps in the West this is considered normal, but in these parts you rarely see this type of girl. Without thinking twice, Arin realized that she had an idea on how to smooth out this problematic situation. If you wear the right veil, you can immediately hide your hair and eye color. Things like this are often worn by aristocrats and priests, so everything is fine now. Soon, Aziz came into the room and greeted the two girls. He was in a great mood today. She decided to ask him about her stay here. "You are too awkward sleeping in the same room with the prince." Aziz explained that she had to help him until the curse was lifted. Now Suleiman feels relieved. If the attacks stop, it will mean that the prince is completely healed. That's when Kate will be able to become completely free and do whatever she wants. Oddly enough, this upset the girl. She realized that at that moment, she would have to live outside the palace and protect herself. She doesn't intend to die again, but first, she needs to gain strength and become more powerful. If she is close to Suleiman, then Aziz is sure that this can happen in 2 years. This means that all this time they have to sleep in the same bed, and this is very interesting. Aziz also reminded that in the evening she would become a cat again, and they would even organize her own personal room. Also, after Suleiman leaves for the official residence, Aziz will give a short lesson. It will introduce you to the culture, history, theology, and etiquette of the kingdom. A little later, Jack will appear and tell her about simple self-defense techniques. Kate should be happy. She will live a full and healthy life. She did not have such privileges in the past. As soon as she went outside, Kate felt a headache. Aziz is pushing the girl to study too hard. She is not ready for such a load. Then new problems arose. Kate found out that other girls in the palace were starting to laugh at her. Rumors began to spread about her, that she had not left her bedroom since she appeared, and they even arranged a place for her there. They laughed at her, thinking that she was too eager to get into the prince's harem. Arin tried to calm her friend down, but Kate said that she didn't take those words to heart. She knows how to stand up for herself, so she decided to approach the girls and talk to them personally. She knows that they were deliberately trying to offend her, which is why she came to thank them personally. Erin was scared and didn't know how to behave in this situation. She realized that her friend was very brave. These girls not only show disrespect to the one who is closest to the prince, but also do not respect Suleiman personally. The girls reminded that the prince was attacked by magic. This could mean that Kate is actually a witch. It looks like they're not going to give up without a fight, so we'll have to resort to a secret weapon. Kate decided to show them her true face and show that she is not a witch at all, but a beauty who is hard to compare with. A little later, Aziz personally heard this whole story, but was not particularly surprised. I had to explain to him that an unpleasant situation had arisen and that Kate was not to blame for anything. Aziz, on the contrary, noted her actions and said that after this, no one would spread rumors anymore. After that, the conversation turned to the medallion, because it also caused a lot of problems and unnecessary talk. The Sultan's cat sign is not easy to remove on your own, because the size changes following the transformation of the body. She hoped that Aziz would be able to remove the medallion with his magic, but he believes that would be a mistake. He is willing to modify this locket a little to make it more comfortable for Kate. However, even if the discomfort continues, it is important to continue wearing this artifact around your neck. Noticing that the training was practically non-stop, Aaron suggested taking a short break. Today she prepared a special drink, herbal chamomile tea brought by the merchants. It has a special scent, and oddly enough, the smell of chamomile reminds Kate of her past life. She tried this tea and said that it was the most delicious drink she had drunk in many years. Erin looked happy. She loves when people treat her warmly, even despite the difference in status. Smiling, she promised to prepare an even more delicious drink next time, as well as some delicacy. The history of the kingdom, dearly loved by the people, has absorbed many legends over 1,000 years. Different people entered the harem, regardless of status or nationality. It is said that both men and women could become sultans and rule the state. As she trained, Kate again felt her heart racing and dizziness. These are all signs of an imminent transformation into a cat. It seems to be happening too suddenly. This never happened with Suleiman, but apparently without him this process is completely unstable. Due to the constant transitions of external appearance, consciousness becomes completely clouded. Kate lost concentration again and fell from a fairly large height. And it was very lucky that Suleiman was very close and saved her at the most crucial moment. He suggested that she read in his bed because the transformation happens too unexpectedly and it would be safer there. He has become much more caring lately and is now always trying to figure out if his cat has a problem. It was thanks to him that she was able to turn into a human and gain some freedom. Of course, there are various restraining factors. For example, she must wear a veil at all times. Also, her movements are quite limited, but it is still different from living in confinement. But strangely enough, even despite all this, Kate still feels like a bird in a cage. Suleiman saw her sadness and offered to turn her back into a human to ease her suffering. Later, he wants her to sit next to a half-naked man for half a day, although the offer is quite tempting. If any difficulties arise, she should forget about embarrassment and immediately tell the prince about it. He is very sorry that she is locked up due to all his illnesses and circumstances, so he wants to improve the quality of her life. From the very beginning, Suleiman left a rather unpleasant impression of himself as a rude and arrogant prince. It seems she was wrong because he could have taken advantage of her weakness, but he didn't. They use each other equally at the right moments, so she should also ask for forgiveness. In fact, recent events have brought them quite close to each other, and it's hard not to notice. Suleiman said that he was incredibly grateful to her for all the support and care, and that now his illness bothers him much less. The Sultan created this greenhouse especially for members of the royal family, a truly beautiful place where plants bloom all year round. This greenhouse is very large and spacious. It will take a long time to get to the right place. However, it is worth it when the conversation turns to having tea alone with the most powerful person in this country. Kate lives with the son of a man in power, and now they are about to have an important conversation. She hopes that no serious problems will arise, and the Sultan will not yell at her because of his son. I actually find this situation a little bit more pleasant to return to. You always need to find positive moments. If you take advantage of the moment and ask for some money, Kate can earn some serious money, for example, a real mountain of jewelry. She's been feeling much better lately, because before it was hard for her to adapt to the unknown world. Now everything has changed. She is safe and can return to human form. In truth, Kate feels a certain awe before her future life. It seems that with such power, everything is possible. First, she wants to use this power to protect her loved ones and not be someone's puppet. Even if she wears beautiful clothes, who wants to wear them whenever and wherever they want? If problems arise because of her behavior, then Aaron should not remain silent, but should tell everything as it is. Things may be difficult for them now, but Kate promises that she will repay her friend's loyalty in the future. She is truly a special person. She doesn't scold or beat Aaron like other people. There is mutual respect in their communication. Only now did Kate realize that in this palace, everyone was trying to take care of themselves, and it wasn't easy at all. Aaron has been helping her all this time without any purpose, so now you have to protect her. When they support each other, they create a kind of protective shell from all external evil. Soon Kate came to Sultan Harem and greeted the most powerful woman in the kingdom. It became immediately clear that this girl had been taught manners, and now she knew how to behave in high society. In fact, the Sultan does not pay much attention to formalities. She immediately brought her guest to pass and sit down comfortably. The Sultan noticed the beauty of her interlocutor and even made a few slightly unexpected compliments. But on the other hand, she immediately declared that even this beauty was not enough to get her son. It felt like the whole situation was starting to move according to the fictional scenario that Kate had been thinking about. Harem said that she was pleased to see how everything around her was becoming brighter. Obviously, this was due to the appearance of Kate. It's unclear why they met at all. It feels like there's just ordinary curiosity hiding here. Kate was used to directness and so asked her interlocutor to get straight to the point. Apparently, the Sultan is not angry with her at all, and called her only to personally see the beauty of this girl. The mother also noticed how much he had changed recently, although before he had not paid any attention to women at all. In fact, the real purpose of this conversation is to ask for a favor. The Sultan understands that her son is not perfect at all, and therefore asks Kate to take care of him. If everything goes well, she swears on her honor that she will provide for the girl for the rest of her life. She also said that she plans to appoint Suleiman as Sultan within a few years. There is no doubt that this will be a rather difficult path, but if Kate copes, she will get absolutely everything, and all that remains is to choose what she wants to receive, and the Sultan will immediately fulfill all her wishes. Kate's head immediately became filled with a huge number of ideas: money, stocks, cars, and beautiful houses. Now everything one could dream of is available to her. On the other hand, she doesn't think that it would be right to ask for something like that in this situation. After some thought, she said that she had actually been dreaming of freedom for a long time. Being here is too burdensome for her heart. She's accustomed to completely different living conditions. Having heard such an unexpected request, Sultan Harem immediately thought for a while. When Suleiman becomes Sultan, Kate wants to have the right to do absolutely whatever she wants. She is indeed a strange child, because usually everyone tries to stick to the palace. Everyone has the right to choose their own destiny. There are people like Theron who are suffocated by the surrounding walls. After some thought, the ninth Sultan, Harem Asna, vowed to fulfill Kate's request without fail. They decided to take a little walk in order to discuss all the details and dispel bad thoughts. It was during this walk that another unexpected meeting took place. Sultan Harem had not seen Roxolana for a long time and greeted her quite cheerfully with a wide smile on her face. Roxolana visited this greenhouse for the first time and thanked it for the opportunity to enjoy the beauty of nature. Aziz had already told about this woman in history class and asked Kate to be extremely careful. After this, the two women began to discuss Kate. Apparently, Roxolana was very interested in this girl. She knows that Kate is often seen with the second prince, but the Sultan does not like it when rumors spread about her son. Roxolana, just like her son Theron, knows how to hide her personal emotions behind a smile. Kate had found herself in similar situations before, when their two sons had also fought over her. After this, Roxolana said that she felt rather unwell and was forced to return to her chambers. This woman is the mother of the fourth prince of the kingdom, and it is better to be careful with her. Even though it was extremely uncomfortable to be here, she still came to see Kate's beauty in person. By the way, it was in this greenhouse that the Sultan personally proposed to Harem. His name was Mahmed. When they first met at the city market, he was dressed in a regular uniform. Born into an impoverished aristocratic family, Harem fell in love with Mahmed without knowing his status. They were so carried away by each other that they did not notice anything around them. He always called her a rose and swore eternal love. He seems to have been a very romantic person, and he is remembered as such. Even on the battlefield, he sent poems to his wife, but in the end, it all ended rather sadly. He had no intention of dying, but ended up leaving Harem with a heavy burden. The Sultan also said that Theron is Suleiman's sworn enemy, and that is why one must be wary of his mother. There is no doubt that their family will try to restrain Kate. You need to have the strength and position to avoid this. In the future, the Sultan deliberately made this girl the most noble person in the royal court. After some preparation, they will present her as the incarnation of the goddess. If everything is done correctly and in a timely manner, then no one will dare to show disrespect. The Sultan asked Kate not to worry and to trust her in this difficult situation. There are two guys who would start a real riot if they found out that even one hair fell from Kate's head. It's not only Suleiman, but also the son of Sultan Aziz. He is even worse because he waited too long for the goddess of water. If she has any more questions, she should ask Aziz directly. By evening, Kate returned to her room and was already noticeably tired and felt weak throughout her body. Aziz gives her too many assignments. She has to study all day, even on weekends. Soon, the second prince of the kingdom entered the room. Apparently, he had already managed to finish all his business. Kate looked at him in a special way today. He seemed incredibly handsome to her. She was glad that he returned a little earlier than usual, and they could spend some time together. At first, Suleiman was a little embarrassed, but then he said that he would like to see her a little later. I had to tell him about the constant assignment from Aziz, and about the fact that now there is no free time at all. Kate hoped that he would help her avoid constant lessons, but Suleiman replied that there was something better. He grabbed her hand and suggested that they take a walk in the grounds outside the palace. Let's move to the capital of truths, to the seacoast, which today will be expressed in a particularly beautiful way. This is not at all like the landscape that Kate saw as a cat, when everything seems somehow gray and ordinary. Easton is divided into two continents by a strait and is especially beautiful in the summer. To get to the other side, you have to sail on a boat for an hour, but the atmosphere there is completely different. That is why the prince always tries to be careful when he comes there for the purpose of exchange. With each new day, Kate discovers Suleiman in a special way. He takes up more and more space in her thoughts. She is glad that she followed him, and I decided to take a walk. Now she feels an extraordinary lightness in her soul. He also noticed an improvement in her mood. This freedom was immediately reflected in her inner feelings. Kate noticed the strange outfit that Suleiman was wearing, although he does not consider these clothes strange. He knows absolutely nothing about the outside world, and therefore does not even realize how much unnecessary attention he attracts to himself. First, you need to do something with your hair, at least change your image a little. In order for the prince to look inconspicuous, he must pretend that he is an ordinary person, no different from everyone else. To do this, you need to trust and close your eyes a little so that Kate can show her abilities. He quickly trusted and found himself completely in her power. The atmosphere changed in an instant. It seemed that now Kate would completely forget about his hair and start working on his lips. Everything was so close. Only at the last moment did she come to her senses and take full control over her desires. Now he looks like a much simpler man than he did before. No one should suspect that he is the future sultan. If you also put a hood on him, he becomes a gloomy hunter or merchant. Soon they arrived at their destination and stepped out into the fresh air. Kate was excited and happy at the same time. When she was a stray cat, she often spent time at these markets, trying to find at least some food. Now she came here with the prince incognito. It's even strange how quickly life can change. Although he has never been a cat, he has no doubt that coming to the same place in different guises can be interesting. Kate suggested asking Aziz for magical help so that they could both turn into cats and go for a little walk. I had to ask her not to make up nonsense and not to attract unnecessary attention from the traders. Here you can find a lot of jewelry and interesting things. And at the sight of this, the shopaholic in Kate immediately woke up. She decided to make her first purchase in this world, and very quickly chose something not very expensive. Only then did she begin to think about the amount of this purchase, and about the fact that she might not have enough money. Suleiman could no longer watch her awkwardly trying to negotiate with the seller and decided to intervene. Even though she wanted to do it herself, well, it must still be admitted that he acted like a true gentleman. They continued their walk through the bazaar and bought many more different small decorations. All this time, Kate thought about traveling incognito as something incredible, but now she doesn't see anything special in it. After a long walk in the sun, she again felt slightly dizzy and almost fell to the ground. As many times before, she was saved again. Suleiman was as close as possible and managed to react. Today is a trading day, so there are too many people here. It is better to hurry and go to a freer place. Kate trusted him completely and didn't try to offer anything of her own, and it was easy and simple. And it seemed that everything that was happening was unusual for her, and not for a man with a heart of stone. He still remains a mystery that you will have to puzzle over if you want to know all the answers. One of the purchased bracelets went to her best friend. Erin looked incredibly happy and constantly thanked her for the gift. All this time, Kate was in some kind of meditative state and did not pay any attention to everything that was happening around her. Only after a few seconds she pretended that everything was fine and nothing bad had happened. The walk ended beautifully. Erin is not ready to stop there and wants more details about her friend's first date. I had to explain to her that nothing like that happened because it was just an incognito walk. Although, of course, for Kate all this had much more meaning and was imprinted with very warm memories in her heart. Erin couldn't help but notice that her friend's face said much more than her tongue. Kate had to change the subject in order to get away from an uncomfortable topic with many questions. Lately, the need for self-defense has disappeared thanks to the goddess's strengths. At the moment, Kate doesn't want to tell anyone about this because the skills may still be useful in her future life. Although, of course, she hopes that the fencing teacher will not be too strict, but on the contrary, pleasant and kind. Her dreams didn't quite come true because her fencing teacher turned out to be a man we've known for a long time, Jack. She never thought anything good about him. He was always quite strict with her and even openly showed his dislike for her cat-like appearance. Apparently, they weren't entirely comfortable being around the girl when she was in cat form. Everything was completely different. Kate quickly felt her advantage and decided to take advantage of it. He deserves to be punished. To begin with, she suggested shaking hands, knowing that this idea would not please her new teacher, who doesn't care about fencing. After an hour of training, Jack looked quite pale. He even asked for the opportunity to go and drink some water. Apparently, human beauty can really amaze, since even such an arrogant guy was confused. On the other hand, the only person Kate would like to tease right now is Prince Suleiman. She can't understand why he is so phlegmatic, and she never liked it, and that's why she wanted to tease him. For some reason, this has started to worry her lately, although it is obvious that from the very beginning, she just wanted to avoid the prince. Now everything has changed. She constantly thinks about him and cannot concentrate on training and studying. At that very moment, when she was swinging her sword alone, without the support of her teacher, a familiar voice called out to her. Within a few seconds, she saw Theron in front of her. This was the first time she met him in human form. Of course, he didn't even suspect that they knew each other, and was surprised when she immediately greeted him. I had to apologize for my behavior and promised to leave soon and not interfere with the prince's training on the training ground. Theron smiled and said that it was not necessary to leave him because he understood that she was not an ordinary person at all. He guessed because he saw that the Governor-General was constantly spending time with her, and so he decided to come and help with the training. He is willing to give her some tips on weapon control, as well as improve her defense skills a little. She looked at his face so intently that Theron couldn't help but joke about it. He is indeed a very handsome and charming guy. To tell the truth, he has also always excited her imagination. Previously, Kate thought that no one was allowed to enter this territory. Perhaps Theron was breaking the rules again. If his brother finds out about this, then there is no doubt that a new conflict will arise. But for now, there is no need to think about it. He offered to keep it a secret and smiled slightly. Playfulness and even a hint of flirtation could be seen in his eyes. It's quite unusual that he came here even when there was a threat of running into his brother. Such situations are best avoided. Kate said that she had finished her training and now had to go, but he was in no hurry to say goodbye to her. Theron immediately noticed that he felt strange emotions. He was sure that this was not the first time they met. Oddly enough, for the first time around this guy, she felt an oppressive atmosphere of fear, as if this person was not at all who he seemed. He tried to stop her with his hand, but at that moment, Jack returned and tried to find out what the prince was doing in this territory. The atmosphere around immediately changed. Theron began to smile again and said that he was just walking around the palace. After that, Kate hurried to finish her workout, although Jack tried to remind her that she couldn't walk all alone. Only now did Tron realize that he had met the girl that so much has been said about lately. She was certainly Suleiman's lover. He immediately started thinking that it would be good to study this whole situation, and from that moment on, everything would become much more fun. Within a few minutes, Jack did what he had to do. He came to his master and told him what had happened. When Suleiman heard that Theron had come to the training ground, he became furious again. They also talked about the black market business. Jack had to find out who was involved in the previous incident. He said that no evidence had been found yet, and they only had suspicions. In this huge number of details, it is very difficult to find the necessary information. It is necessary to find the key to getting rid of Roxolana's influence. First, we need to find out who is behind the trade and tax theft, and only then stop the forces that are poisoning everything around the capital. He ordered Jack to continue searching and not stop until all the answers were found. There is no doubt that evidence will emerge if the volume and value of weapons sold on the black market are tracked. Soon after, Jack told about the situation at the training ground and Kate's meeting with Jack. The servant apologized for not being with the girl at that moment and said that this would never happen again. Suleiman still cannot understand why the fourth prince was not interested in getting closer to her. Perhaps he wants to use her for his own interests, or perhaps it's even more twisted. Suleiman began to notice that he often felt uneasy when he did not see her for a long time. Even falling asleep next to her at night, he still feels some kind of coldness and indignation. Sometimes it seems to him that she could disappear at any moment and turn out to be nothing more than a mirage, as if this were the prince's greatest fear. Emotions only make things worse, although he always knew that emotions would not help in governing the kingdom. It's so funny to give in to an awkward feeling called love. It can even be called a stupid mistake of youth. On the other hand, the situation is completely different now, and he clearly understands this when he tries to analyze everything that is happening. He can't even name the feeling he constantly experiences, as if these emotions are impossible to capture. Soon he finished all his work and said that he had to find Kate immediately, because he couldn't go on like this any longer. Soon he will have to tour the outskirts of the capital, uniting the aristocrats, and honoring loyalty to the royal family is his main task. Oddly enough, this time he doesn't want to leave the capital at all. Maybe it's again connected with Kate. When he sees her, his breath catches, and he doesn't even know what to talk about. Nothing like this had ever happened to him before. These feelings are even somehow difficult to explain. After walking through the bazaar together, it was very difficult to understand this girl, because at first it seemed that she was burdened by her new life. Only later, after analyzing the situation, did he realize that with her, even such ordinary walks could be incredibly pleasant. In her presence, he becomes overwhelmed with anxiety, as if he must constantly be very attentive and protect her from trouble. Only now he admits that for the first time in his life, he felt that his heart could beat so fast. Now there is no point in hiding the fact that when she is around, everything around seems to change for the better. He completely forgot that they were talking and was lost in thought for a while. Kate had to bring him back to reality. He's still too cold and distant, and of course she can't like all that. After a short pause, he explained that the following day, he was obliged to visit cities outside the capital. He apologizes for leaving her all alone, but he cannot give up his mission as governor. All this work will take about a week, maybe a little less, so be patient. It was noticeable how upset this news was for Kate. She tried with all her might to find a way out and cancel such a long separation. It seemed to him that she also felt the same, but then the girl said that she did not want to be separated because she would turn into a cat again. He promised to take all necessary measures to make her comfortable and to ask Aziz not to burden her with unnecessary activities. My mood immediately changed, and she again demonstrated a radiant smile and ringing laughter. For Suleiman, this trip is like an opportunity to understand what he feels and sort out his own emotions. The only thing he thinks about is that nothing happens while he is not in the capital. Let's return to Theron. He was just at that time walking in the greenhouse and enjoying the smell of flowers. This time, they will help him prepare a huge number of drugs. Poisonous flowers have a wide range of potential uses. They can heal and save, but they can also kill. At that moment, a man in a black suit, hiding his face, appeared and greeted the prince. This made Theron very angry. He had already warned more than once that one could not appear here without his knowledge. Otherwise, the servant would face death. It turned out that it was actually a girl. She made sure that no one was around and apologized for her mistake. Today, she is ready to report all the results of the investigation she has been conducting for the past few weeks. Unfortunately, she was unable to find any information about this mysterious woman. Everything, including age, deposits, and marital status, remains a mystery, and nothing is known about the Sultan's palace. It turned out that this girl just suddenly appeared, but there are no more records. It also became known that the Sultan's knights have come into motion. It seems they are conducting research on the market. Perhaps Suleiman wants to put the squeeze on his brother, and Theron plans to let him do it. The people who had recently left the palace must die. That was the order he gave to his servant. He can't wait to see what horrible end awaits all the people his brother fired. Finally, Theron looked at the flowers that were familiar to him. They brought back strange memories for him. He immediately remembered the cat, which he had not seen for so long, and wondered if everything was okay with her. Although these flowers are not at all harmful to humans, he was very surprised when she picked what was poisonous to her. He can't understand why he keeps thinking about this cat, why it belongs to his brother and not to anyone else. Moreover, if this is the cat from the prophecy, then it will also have to be destroyed, whether we want it or not. He doesn't wish her any harm, but on the contrary, he wants to take her for himself, no matter how stupid and even funny it all sounds. He also thinks that Suleiman suddenly fell in love with Kate, although he had previously shown no interest in women. He became interested in what would happen if his brother lost this girl. It would be interesting to look at his face. It's even funny to imagine how much he will suffer. And Theron, in his favorite manner, can laugh looking at his face. This has happened often before, but a situation like this can take revenge to a whole new level. Let's go back to Kate. And it seemed that after that very day something should happen, but everything somehow became too quiet. At this difficult moment, she remembers the conversation with Aziz when they talked about Prince Theron. Aziz said that Roxolana comes from the richest family on the continent, and Theron is her only son. It is easy to notice that he has a rather cute face, and he is very kind to women. Among them, he is even called the prince on a white horse. To be honest, in terms of appearance and character, he is much better than Prince Suleiman. In addition, following his mother, he sponsors orphanages and participates in charity, that is, helps poor people. In that case, it's not entirely clear why Kate should be careful with his family if they are such good people. Aziz decided to tell everything here. He said that all this is just a pretense, but in fact Theron is incredibly dangerous. In fact, the successors in the kingdom are Suleiman and Theron at the same time, and this explains a lot. If Suleiman dies, then Theron will become the heir to the throne, which is why Harem continues to monitor Theron's forces. She tries her best to keep her son out of trouble, but still no one knows what might happen next. This is why Aziz was so vehemently asking Kate to be careful with Theron and his mother. As soon as she heard all these stories, you began to worry, but not only about yourself, but also about Suleiman. He's been gone for several days now, and she's already tired of sleeping all alone, and she hates seeing an empty bed in the morning. Now she also admits that she is beginning to miss him, and his absence is causing her heart to break into pieces. The cat wanted all the problems to finally go away from her life, but it seems that the problems are only getting bigger and bigger. She completely lost control of the situation and did not notice the approach of the maids, who wanted to play with the cat a little. These maids took care of her while Aaron was away. They also loved to play with the cat and indulge all her whims. Soon, Kate also began to enjoy spending time with them, because she felt quite comfortable in their company. Lately, everything has changed, although before everyone thought that she was a stupid cat and treated her carelessly. But Aaron still constantly watches her best friend and doesn't let anyone even look badly in her direction. For her, this cat remains something special, something that is incredibly dear to her big heart. Even now, she apologizes to the cat for not spending enough time with her because of her work. Although Aaron is very young and inexperienced, she is a maid, and in this yard, no one can open their soul. However, she has been there to help the cat from the very beginning, so Kate considers her best friend. Sometimes, such sweet situations happen between them that it's even hard to hold back tears. A little later, I came to the library to take a book on Aziz's recommendation. It's quite quiet and calm here. The book turned out to be quite ancient, so to search for it, we even had to go to the storage of the main library. Meanwhile, he is delayed, probably can't find the book, and that's why Kate is a little bored. She again did not notice the approach of a person at all. Apparently, her cat instincts are still at a weak level. Thus, she met Prince Theron again. He constantly approaches incredibly quietly and does not warn about his visits. Although the prince immediately apologized for his behavior, this time the cat was not particularly happy to see him. He is sure that she did not come here alone and that she has company, but the constant questions are starting to irritate him. He said it was bad to leave a cat in such a lonely place. Sometimes people are too careless. He looked at Kate closely and said that he thought she was a little strange. If he had been his brother's cat, he would have definitely hated him, but on the contrary, she fell in love with Suleiman. She tries to protect him from trouble, while Theron wants to take this cat and keep it close to him. A few seconds later, when it seemed that the atmosphere was becoming too oppressive again, he laughed and said that he was only joking. It was unlikely that this was enough to calm the cat. She almost had a heart attack. He also said that he feels very calm next to her, which is a great rarity in the palace. Perhaps this is the purpose of the cat. That is why, if they find each other in the next life, he asks to meet him before his brother. A little later, Theron couldn't resist and decided to kiss the cat himself, but it's unclear whether he did it consciously. She immediately began to panic and realized that this kiss was enough to start the transformation process. Judging by the prince's reaction, he clearly didn't expect this kiss to work and didn't understand what was happening at all. At that moment, she tried to think about Suleiman, to remember those words when he promised to return soon and reunite with her again. They still have a lot to tell each other, but all this can only happen after his return. It felt like Kate was in an internal struggle with herself. She didn't want to let go of the image of Suleiman, even though he was physically very far away. Still, The transformation process was completed. After a few seconds, she turned into a girl. Theron's kiss worked. And it was hard to believe it, and a real panic began in her head. This means that you can kiss not only with Suleiman. Although after the kiss there were the same sensations, the internal emotions were completely different. She felt someone else's energy. If it became known that it was not only the second prince who could help her transform, it would become a political issue. This will be enough to deal a major blow to Suleiman's position. The cat from the prophecy is proof that he deserves to become a sultan. But the transformation through a kiss will show that Theron also has the right to this. We must do everything we can to silence him, although this will not be easy at all. When he saw that the cat had turned into a beauty, Kate immediately took the initiative and demanded an immediate apology for the kisses. Although he was surprised, he immediately bowed before her and apologized for his rudeness. After apologizing, he wondered if he needed to kiss someone to return to his original appearance. Kate immediately became embarrassed and did not know what to answer. Theron immediately felt her uncertainty and understood what she was thinking. Now it is clear why she is so closely connected with Suleiman. Many secrets were revealed right before our eyes. It also became clear that the transformation time is limited, because sometimes she walks in the form of a cat. Theron pretended to be genuinely happy about her transformation because of his kiss. He said that it was a great honor for him. At first, Kate was scared and thought that he would start threatening, but it felt like that was not the case at all. She might have to dig deeper, but so far it didn't look like he meant any harm. To begin with, it would be better to ask him to keep all this a secret. Perhaps he will agree to help her. At this moment, the servant turned to the prince and said that Roxolana had come to see him. Kate was very scared, but the prince asked to delay his mother for a while and not let her into the room for now. He also said that he would help Kate hide so that no one would notice their meeting. Within seconds, Kate was safe and Roxolana was allowed inside. They hadn't spoken to their son for a long time, so this meeting could be called long-awaited. Roxolana immediately said that she did not believe that her son also slept at lunchtime. She expressed herself clearly and hinted that there was a woman here. The son showed his signature smile and said that he didn't know that his mother was interested in his activities. And I had to remind him that he needed to gather his courage and act according to the plan. Today they need to discuss something important. Kate is very close, but she can hardly hear what they are talking about. She only heard fragments of some phrases, but she still didn't understand the general context. Only a little later did she realize that this information was secret, and now she might have problems. While Kate was trying to figure out how to get out of here safely, Roxolana asked her son not to make her wait long. He reminded his mother that these walls could have ears, and therefore even in his room it was better to speak in a whisper. The conversation soon ended. The mother was not very happy with her son, but reminded him to follow the plan. Soon Roxolana left the room, and Theron hastened to free his hostage. He apologized to her and explained that he had not arranged a meeting with his mother at all. Kate was glad that Theron didn't suspect her of eavesdropping on the conversation, but she understood that it was dangerous to stay here. She would like to leave, but first she asked not to tell anyone that she was here, and that a kiss helps the transformation. In simple terms, she doesn't want to cause trouble because she is the cat from the prophecy. If everyone finds out that there are several people who can change her appearance, then problems will begin. Theron took this statement with understanding, kissed the girl's hand, and promised to remain silent. Meanwhile, Erin was in a real panic and thought that her beloved cat was lost. Only now did she manage to calm down after the quick return of her beloved. Kate decided not to even tell Aaron about what happened because she couldn't let this situation reach Suleiman. The relationship between the brothers was always tense, especially since the kiss with Theron would never happen again. A few hours later, night fell and the cat went to bed, as always, in proud solitude. After a while, she felt the touch of a familiar hand and woke up. She was very surprised when she saw this beautiful and strong image of Prince Suleiman in front of her. They hadn't seen each other for a long time, and now the time had come for the long-awaited meeting. He had finally returned. It turned out that all this time she had been sleeping on his clothes, and it was too late to pretend that it was an accident. If it was known that Suleiman would return tonight, then it would be possible to start cleaning, but this did not happen. The prince calmed his little cat and said that he missed her very much. All this time, she thought that he would be angry because of the wrinkled clothes, but everything turned out to be completely different, and she became so embarrassed by his internal changes that she began to scream like a leper. The prince reassured Kate and said that he tried to return as soon as possible, but now they had to part again. There's too much work accumulated, and he needs to go to his residence. Once he finishes all his work, they can have dinner together, but for now, he offers to turn her back into a human. Suleiman slowly approached her face and kissed her tenderly, as if he were kissing a princess. After that, he left the room and did not even wait for the transformation process. Kate wanted to talk and tell him that she also missed him very much, but he was no longer around. His behavior triggered another fit of anger. His coldness was too hard to get used to. Kate is upset, and it is understandable. She waited so long to meet, and once again found herself completely alone. At such moments, only Aaron could calm her down a little, so she called her friend. Aaron always finds the right words in such situations. Today's case is no exception. Only now did Kate begin to sincerely guess that she had fallen in love with the prince, although she was still afraid to admit it to herself. Soon she received items from the salon, a place where clothes are sewn for members of the royal family and high-ranking aristocrats. There are famous tailors working there who make clothes from incredibly valuable fabrics. Today, they brought a new summer outfit, and Erin is already looking forward to how good her friend will look. Summer is coming, so she ordered the necessary clothes and accessories for Kate. We had to make a lot of orders, also that Kate would have clothes for all occasions. There is also a personal order from Suleiman here. He also wanted to make a special gift. For a second, Kate thought, and even got upset, all because she was not sure whether it was right to accept such a gift. Her vague mood did not change even after the arrival of her close friend. Aziz immediately noticed Kate's lack of cheerfulness and asked her to smile more often. The girl explained that she was actually upset about the veil. She didn't like wearing this item of clothing in the palace. Aziz immediately allowed her to forget about the veil, and this was a bit unexpected. The thing is that in the palace you can't avoid unnecessary noise anyway, so it's not necessary to hide your face. It turned out that Mr. Suleiman kicked out all the workers in the palace, and this was not done by accident. The prince is concerned about Kate's comfort, and therefore does everything to make her feel as happy as possible. He knew that she would be surprised, so even though he won the workers, he acted mercifully. Until recently, she had not thought about the prince at all, so she was going to leave as soon as the opportunity arose. It seemed that he also didn't pay any attention to her, but now the situation has completely changed. It feels like he really cares and is concerned about her well-being. He became more sensitive and attentive, and this could not help but melt her heart. Sometimes everything becomes so confusing that Kate approaches complete madness. Even Aziz notices that her behavior has changed. It's hard to hide your emotions from this guy. Having received the power of Ashtar, Kate felt an invisible power and inner strength. It happened during Suleiman's inauguration, at the very moment when the girl became slightly curious. She was literally drawn to the fountain where she discovered her potential and awakened her inner strength. Lately, Aziz has become more and more suspicious. Kate doesn't even know if she can trust him. She said that she no longer wanted to sit behind textbooks all the time, and it would be better to move on to practice. She is very interested in divine power and everything connected with it. Perhaps it is time to increase the level of training. She wants to learn to control this power, and when trouble comes, to overcome any difficulties. Aziz was very impressed, and said that to achieve this, she would have to double the number of lessons. Kate headed straight for Suleiman's personal library. Here he studied alone, and it was expected that the library would be very small, but this is not the case at all. Now she has enough free time, so there is no need to rush anywhere. You can find textbooks around that the prince actively studied, and this is very interesting. The girl very quickly guessed that young Suleiman had made his notes in these books. This amazed her so much that she could not hide her emotion. Because of her relaxation, Kate did not feel his approach at all. The prince doesn't like it at all when someone watches his childhood videos, but he is ready to forgive Kate anything. When she saw this dark-haired handsome man, she almost fell into the ground from embarrassment. It feels like she really lost her head and fell completely in love with the prince. Her face began to burn with fire. These feelings cannot be compared with any love from a past life. Having picked up the book, I immediately recognized my handwriting and the time when he made these notes. He was just a child then, and as a child, he had difficulty learning to write. He was constantly scolded and corrected by teachers. The principle is taught from childhood. At the age of 10, he already knew this book by heart. Some of the principals read even more than he did, but nevertheless, he was still one of the most talented students. His mother didn't push him too hard to study, but she was strict in other areas. For example, she attached great importance to studying martial arts and combat practice. She always repeated that a good commander needs not only brains, but also muscles. That's why he looks so good now, thanks to his mother. The prince also noticed Kate's new dress. The embroidery is unusual. Most likely it was brought from another country. The girl was pleased by his attention. She immediately told him that the dress was sewn in a salon, and she received it only today. Suleiman said that she looks great. The color of this dress matches her eyes perfectly. She really does look incredibly beautiful, so beautiful that it's impossible not to fall in love. The moment was so romantic that the girl couldn't resist saying that such behavior was not like him at all. She reminded him that he had promised her a dinner together. Well, apparently a new problem had arisen. Suleiman turned her into a human early in the morning when he woke up, and now there is no time for dinner at all. At first she was a little upset, but then she decided to show that everything was fine. Suleiman is too sad today, which means that he may do something rash. He quickly approached Kate and asked her to freeze in place for a second. Almost instantly, he gently took her by the neck, pulled her closer to him, and kissed her passionately. After that, they went to the promised dinner. Suleiman asked the girl not to rush. Meanwhile, Kate seemed to be in a trance and was trying to understand what had happened to her. She keeps thinking about that kiss and trying to understand her emotions. In her past life, she only studied and worked, so she died alone and did not know love. To tell the truth, it was her first real kiss. Even though he kisses her every morning, it was still something completely different, something sensual and romantic. After taking a sip, Kate felt more confident for a serious conversation. It felt like she wanted to ask him for another kiss, but at the last moment she kept holding back. She convinced herself that he had nothing but a beautiful body, and that in fact she was not interested in him. Just a few minutes ago he touched her virgin lips, and now he sits as if nothing happened. Because of the wine she drank, she began to completely lose control over her own body. I had to call a doctor who said that the girl was too weak for alcohol. To put it simply, she is not at all used to drinking, so it is better to abstain from alcoholic beverages. Apparently, in her new life, she has a completely different body that she needs to get used to. Kate felt a heat inside her and assumed that her temperature had risen. Suleiman continued to be incredibly caring and decided to personally check her forehead. This temperature is too high a price to pay for the wine you drink, so it's better not to risk it anymore. It was obvious that she was nervous and shy and didn't even know how to behave. However, Kate is sure that it is not about alcohol at all and that she is not sick at all. The prince was worried that he might have done something wrong and decided to wash the beauty a little to reduce her fever. It feels like he's treating her like a child. Well, maybe she deserves that treatment. His smile makes her nervous, as if he is showing with his whole appearance that he sees her embarrassment. Suleiman continued to smile and said that it was the first time he saw her like this. Her shyness is too cute to control. He wants to tease her and get closer and closer to her sweet lips. Get closer until he kisses her again. Of course, the prince understands that he needs to control himself, but sometimes this task is too difficult. If he allows you to do anything extra, she will definitely get scared and run away. When he is around her, he becomes a completely different person. It was as if something black, the existence of which he had never even suspected, was penetrating the depths of his heart. This force squeezes him from within, and now he understands that he is much more in love than he thought. After this, the prince said that he needed to go back. There was too much work today. If Kate develops a fever, she should call a doctor immediately and not risk her health. Finally, he decided to kiss her hand tenderly to show his true feelings. He promised to return as soon as possible and reunite with her again. Lately, he has been working so much that he doesn't even have time to sleep. Oddly enough, even at this pace, the work only gets bigger and bigger. There's no time to even dream about rest now, especially after Jack said something interesting. A very interesting object was discovered at the scene of the crime. The tip is made of a material that is highly resistant to poisons and hazardous substances. This tip is very long and sharp and was intended to poison, not kill. This poison was made from a plant called aconite. Jack had already managed to check this information. The situation that happened is really very strange, and it becomes even more interesting to solve this mystery. Just one word about me makes you feel sick. Sometimes death is better than poisoning. The aconite flower makes a person suffer as if he were going to hell. You wouldn't wish that even on your enemy. It's strange that the poison is made from a flower and not from reptiles or snakes, because the flower is more difficult to grow. Most of those who attacked the prince died using the method of suicide by poison. This is why it is difficult to interrogate those who survived. It complicates the investigation process. Seeing that he was bleeding again, Suleiman asked his assistant to bring him new clothes. If Kate sees his blood, she'll start worrying again, and that's not necessary at all. He said that he would personally interrogate the survivors, so a priest was needed to cure the bandits. If this were a normal situation, Suleiman would have quickly fixed everything. But he is constantly in danger. Kate's situation is getting worse, so she needs to be protected immediately. This time, he intends to find the culprit of this incident and solve the problem once and for all. Meanwhile, his brother and rival for the throne continued to enjoy the greenhouse. He often spends time in the garden, and today he learned that Suleiman returned safe and sound. As if Theron was a little upset, he reads that his brother does not learn from his mistakes at all. He was also informed of a dispute over the rights to black market goods that had recently occurred. This only brought a smile to the prince's face. He believes that these fools don't even know who will be next. On the other hand, the higher his reputation, the more people will know about his power. It also became known that the ship moored to the screw port, now it can be transferred to Roxolana. Theron realizes that sometimes he must play the role of a good son in order to become even more powerful. He remembers his mother's words that he must become a sultan at any cost. Only in this way can he stay alive in this palace, and only in this way will he have the opportunity for sweet revenge. You have to constantly fight to protect your dream, and he is ready for it. His mother hated this kingdom because it made her so unhappy. She constantly told her son about her experiences. Now this is called propaganda. Sometimes he feels sorry for your mother because he understands that love is a terrible thing. It's especially sad when your feelings are not reciprocated. Only now does he truly understand what it's like. This was probably the first time the platform became so greedy. He should have taken her back then. It's even somehow awkward to bury these feelings in his heart when Kate belongs to his brother. Even if she was the real cat from the prophecy, he wouldn't care if she came to Suleiman. But when he saw her and got to know her better, he felt something more than just attraction. Now Suleiman must try very hard not to lose his beauty, because Theron plans to take absolutely everything from him, both power and love. Meanwhile, Kate tried to solve Suleiman's riddle. At first he was very cold, but then he turned into a caring and gentle guy. After going to the market, he even distanced himself from her, but then took 2 steps towards her. In any case, she is just a cat, and it is obvious that the prince should take care of her. Of course, in real life, not everything is so clear-cut, but sometimes the prince is just too difficult to understand. Sometimes Kate tries to suppress her feelings of affection for him, but at the same time she passionately wants intimacy. She understands perfectly well that if the prince is persistent, then she has little chance of restraining herself. It becomes noticeable that he sees her shyness and becomes more confident in his actions. He noticed that something was bothering her and decided to talk a little, but apparently he chose the wrong moment for this. The cat has no intention of talking, but simply prefers to play around a little, like a small child. This is a great time to spend some time together and have fun. Suleiman suggested that they go for a walk together tomorrow. They both deserved it. Apparently the cat liked this news so much that she couldn't hide her admiration. The very next morning they set off on their journey on a camel. Suleiman is sure that she will like it very much, although Kate is still a little angry with him. Their walk ended near an incredibly beautiful place with a view of the endless ocean. Kate saw for the first time that this was such a good place to relax. Before it seemed to her that there was nothing better than an indoor greenhouse. It was spacious and cozy here. It felt like a real paradise. She looked at the prince and realized that something had been bothering him lately. Even though he was against it, I insisted in every way to make sure that everything was okay with him. What she saw probably really shocked her, because she didn't expect at all that there would be a reason that would spoil their walk. It turned out that there were serious wounds visible on his body, which he had not talked about at all. Suleiman hastened to calm the cat and said that it was so early that it was so big because of the poison. But there were no bruises, so there was no need to worry. It was easy to guess that all this happened during the trip, and he received the necessary treatment after returning. The poison spread through his body very quickly, and Suleiman must have experienced incredible pain in the first days. Kate was upset that he had been so close all this time and couldn't notice that something was wrong with him. He asked her to calm down and not to worry, because the worst was behind her, and now the wound did not hurt at all. He has been resistant to most poisons since childhood, so all these problems that seem so dangerous are just mere trifles for him. He didn't want her to worry and tried in every way to lift her spirits. But it was difficult to do because Kate kept thinking about the prince's constant bouts of illness. At that moment, she remembered that she had always managed to improve his well-being. Perhaps now she could repeat this procedure. She's not sure if her power is solely for the curse, but now is a good opportunity to test her potential. Recently, she has been constantly practicing to improve her use of the power of the goddess Ashtar. This power comes from faith and hope, and perhaps it will help ease Suleiman's pain. She gently touched his chest and tried to focus completely on her internal energy flows. Oddly enough, at that moment, something amazing began to happen that even the experienced prince had never seen in his life. Almost instantly, all the pain disappeared and he felt incredible relief, as if a deity had touched him. The arrow wound has healed, and now it is not even visible that a few days ago the prince survived a dangerous attack by his enemies. Kate felt like the best doctor in the world and showed her satisfaction in every possible way. Suleiman also could not hide his joy and thanked his savior in every possible way. They both needed this kind of time together to understand how much they needed each other. When they returned home and the cat took on human form, she fully admitted to herself that she had fallen in love. It is safe to say that Prince Suleiman is her first love, and she doesn't know what to do with it. In fairy tales, such situations are always incredibly romantic, but in reality, everything seems too complicated. On the other hand, if he feels the same way, then maybe they could be happy together. Although of course it is difficult to think about this, remembering that the Sultan has the right to have several wives at the same time. Even the thought of a potential harem left Kate stunned. She didn't even know how to react to it. She came from the modern world and is not going to accept the realities here, so she can only hope for an easy romantic adventure. In this case, another problem arises, because she has already promised harem to help her son and quickly leave the creator. Just yesterday she felt incredibly carefree and happy, and today she felt the full weight of troubles. Nothing had happened yet, but she was already almost going crazy from constant worry. It was at this alarming moment that, as always, Aziz appeared out of nowhere. The girl immediately told him that she had healed the prince's wound yesterday and was very pleased with herself. Aziz was very surprised because he was the one doing the treatment, and this process was not at all easy for him. Now there is no doubt that Kate was indeed chosen by the goddess of water and stars and received a special gift from her. On the other hand, we must not forget that she still has poor control over her power and overuses magic. In order to master this technique, you need to train more often and find inner balance. Even just being near the prince expends a huge amount of energy. That's why Aziz asked her to be careful and not rush to use her skills on living beings. She might lose too much energy and die right in the prince's arms, and then his heart wouldn't be able to take it. As soon as Aziz left, Kate immediately took advantage of the moment and began to try to control her inner strength. And it seemed that it would be much easier to conquer this process, for example, like controlling water. After just a few minutes of training, she began to die of boredom and realized that meditation was not helping at all. Soon, Aziz returned again and reminded that only constant training and perseverance can help in difficult times. An ordinary priest would have to train his entire life to master such power. All it takes is a little meditation. Her advantage can easily turn into a failure, so you need to learn to control your mind. Only then will her power be completely under her control, and she will not have to fear for her life or the lives of those around her. It turned out that Aziz did not come alone. If you look closely, you can see something dark in his hands. The last training session today would be practice, which is why he brought a small cat with him. He is being cared for at the temple, and it appears he has a congenital illness, but it is different from the prince's illness. Now Kate must try to cure him, and to do this she must fully concentrate. The girl should forget about worry and fully concentrate on her inner strength. To use divine energy, first of all, you need to have will and a strong mind. Desire alone is not enough, because her power is based on water, and water is the flow of life. You need to feel the energy of nature, cleanse your body, and then use this power for good. Aziz kept repeating that Kate would succeed, and within a few seconds the process began to develop rapidly. Something like a miracle happened, and the little gentle cat instantly felt relief. It was clear that he was no longer suffering from his illness, but on the contrary was enjoying life. Although it is difficult to call it a big achievement, small victories add up to big success. It seemed that Aziz should be happy, but his face was so gloomy that it even inspired fear. I was immediately afraid that she might have misused her power, even though the kitten was completely healthy. Aziz's face changed again. He apologized for his behavior and said that he had shown his stupidity. He didn't know that congenital diseases could be cured so easily, and that's why he was surprised. Besides, he had not seen the image of the goddess for a long time, and now he felt like he was witnessing something outstanding. Of course, he is an ordinary priest, and he is sure that he is not destined to meet a deity. Kate smiled and said that if there were any new sick kittens, she was ready to cure them with her power. Now it becomes clear that this girl is very kind. There is nothing strange in the fact that the goddess chose her. The special tip, which is designed to hold a strong poison, can cause serious injury even with a light touch. It is quite difficult to obtain, but there is a man capable of such a thing who has not yet been caught by the knights. According to the mercenaries, a search of the black market was conducted, and the source of distribution was identified. Behind this whole situation is a white-haired man, also known as Verhan. Only a select few know that Verhan is Uncle Theron. He has a bad reputation, and he decided to clear his name by joining the Roxalan family. Despite the risk, it is a shield that can be used as a last resort in unforeseen circumstances. Jack also managed to find out some information about the trading location. According to rumors, this place is located between the berths of cargo ships, that is, quite close to the palace. It is there that they will be able to find a major black market dealer named Diether. He is a shadowy tycoon whose influence extends throughout the kingdom and even into neighboring countries. This man appeared 5 years ago and established himself, along with his warriors, as the largest guild and a real problem. Suleiman asked his warriors to act very carefully because their opponents could be maximally prepared. If their goal is to transport weapons, then this place is very close. First, you need to split up, and as soon as someone finds something suspicious, they should immediately call for help. Even on the darkest nights, the black market continues to be active. The arms trade has become tightly regulated, so it is being shipped across borders. Judging by the scale, this is quite a big business, with a black market guild behind it. They not only deal with competitors, but they deal with private cooperation, and in the end, ordinary citizens suffer. Today, Suleiman plans to attack these people and destroy everything that was created by plotting against the Sultan. He ordered his men to surround the perimeter and make sure the situation was under control. Meanwhile, the processor of will continued, and none of the merchants even suspected of the imminent danger. They actively negotiated about delivery times and the price of the goods. The traders felt safe and established connections for further cooperation. It was at this moment, which seemed so safe, that the raid began. Armed, the prince and his warriors emerged from the darkness and began active operations. They did not come here to talk and joke, and anyone who does not fall to their knees will pay dearly for their disobedience. Almost immediately, the thick blood of the kingdom's violent enemies appeared on the black market ground, and the chief merchant began to run quickly and try to save his life, while everyone else protected him. Apparently, he hadn't even heard anything about friendship and mutual assistance, because he abandoned his friends to their fate. This behavior cost him a fatal mistake. He slipped, fell, and lost all his wealth. Now there is no doubt that this is all over, because the prince has prepared his blade for a harsh punishment. The merchant called him a monster, but then very quickly apologized and offered to make a deal.